Last day of European action from the round of 16. And today, instead of taking a trip to Anfield or Brighton, we're off to Villa Park for a resolution to the Europa Conference League's round of 16 clash between Aston Villa and Ajax. Can the English team continue their march on, or will the experienced Dutch side show their pedigree? This is, as always, the best of European football here on the Coach's Corner. And as always, you are welcome. Yes, people, and as always, the title says it all. We are taking a little trip to Villa Park in Birmingham, England, to watch the second leg of the Europa Conference League round of 16 clash between Aston Villa and Ajax Amsterdam, or AFC Ajax as they're now known. And a little bit of a reminder, the first leg in Amsterdam, which was covered by Hanno as part of our double bill with Liverpool and Aston Villa that day, finished 0-0. So as you can see, there is all to play for at Birmingham. And the reason why we're probably focusing on this particular match instead of Liverpool and Brighton is because with both teams on opposite ends of 4-0 deficits, 4-goal deficits, Liverpool, of course, being 5-1 ahead, and Brighton being 4-0 behind, it might very well be a foregone conclusion to say that their ties are almost over. However, a huge update to give you, which might make you think again, is this. After winning the first leg at the Stade Velodrome, Marseille were expecting to go through quite easily, but the Yellow Submarine of Villarreal, Unai Emery's former team, of course, gave the French an almighty scare. Going 3-1 up with barely 10 minutes to go, they were dreaming, in fact, of forcing the tie to extra time, which would probably have seen them through with the momentum. But a little bit of carelessness from the back, some brilliance from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with the assist for Jonathan Klaus for what proved to be the tie winner 4 minutes into stoppage time. And you could hear a pin hit the ground over in Spain. As it was, the tie finished 5-3 on aggregate with Marseille just going through, but they were given a huge working over. So maybe the ties with Liverpool and Brighton aren't foregone conclusions. However, we are, of course, focusing on this particular game with all to play for between these two teams. Both of these teams, of course, having won the Champions League back in the day, as the European Cup back in the day, of course. Ajax winning more than a few, and Villa, of course, memorably triumphing in 1982. And Villa, of course, are enjoying a return to European competition for the first time in about 13 or 14 years. They topped their Europa Conference League group ahead of Legia Warsaw and others. And Ajax, of course, had to drop down from the Europa League. And they're certainly not the team they used to be. But it will be interesting to see how things turn about. And in addition to Anfield and the Amex Stadium, we will also provide you updates from elsewhere around Europe. And I will, in fact, give you a few results from earlier on in the day. West Ham, of course, recovering from what was an absolute injustice of a decision in Germany to thrash Freiburg at the London Stadium to the tune of 5-0, go through 5-1 on aggregate. And tragedy for Rangers fans, they ended up losing 1-0 at home to Benfica to lose the tie 3-2 on aggregate. And I can confirm that it was... Well, sadly, it wasn't to be for Rangers, and I'm just going to continue to confirm that it was the number 27 for Benfica, Rafa Fernandes Ferreira da Silva, who put them ahead on 66 minutes, and Rangers were just not able to recover from that. Other scores, AC Milan ending their match against Slavia Prague. Sparta, of course, will be playing Liverpool tonight at Anfield. AC Milan winning their match 3-1, and the tie 7-3 on aggregate. And confirmation, of course, of Marseille's eventual triumph over Villarreal, but it took them a long, long time to do it. And from the Conference League, Fenerbahce going through 3-1 on aggregate despite losing 1-0 at home to Union Saint-Gilloise. Fiorentina just going through at the expense of Maccabi Haifa, 5-4 on aggregate. PAOK Salonika overcoming their deficit from the first leg, beat Dinamo Zagreb 5-3 on aggregate. And we're into extra time in another clash between Victoria Plzen and Servette. That is happening now as Aston Villa and Ajax come out to the field at Villa Park. And of course, from the Europa League, Atalanta will be playing Sporting Lisbon, 1-1 on aggregate. Bayer Leverkusen have to try to negotiate their tough Azerbaijani opponents Karabakh. The tie is 2-2 on aggregate. And as mentioned, Brighton will be hoping to try to imbibe some of that Villarreal spirit to overturn their 4-0 deficit playing at home. Could it work? Not too sure, because Roma look a rejuvenated team under Daniel De Rossi. And of course, Liverpool expected to complete a formality, leading 5-1 over Sparta Prague. And as I said, we will provide updates on these games all over the continent. But for now, I am about to share the team news for Aston Villa and Ajax. And obviously, Aston Villa coming into this on the back of an absolutely horrible second-half performance, which saw them lose 4-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. John McGinn did get sent off in that game, but he returns, of course, to lead the team in Europe. And it's a 4-4-2 for Unai Emery, Emi Martinez in goal, Matthew Cash and Alex Moreno are the fullbacks, Diego Carlos and Pau Torres are the centre-backs. Moussa Diaby and Morgan Rogers are playing on the wing. Rogers in an unfamiliar role. I do believe it's down to Irogbenam being injured and McGinn having to move to the centre, with Tielemans dropping to the bench. Douglas Luiz in the centre of midfield alongside his skipper. And it's going to be Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins up top as they try to secure the deal. And on the bench, as confirmed, Tielemans drops to the bench, as does Luca Digne. Clement Lenglet is also on the bench alongside John Duran. Irogbenam isn't injured, I stand corrected, but he is on the bench tonight. And hopefully, for Villa's sake, they will negotiate this tough tie. And it will not be easy with Dinat Ramaj in goal ahead of in goal ahead of Geronimo Rulli, who, of course, was the Europa League winning goalkeeper for Villarreal in 2021, coached, of course, by a certain Unai Emery. And lest we forget, he was also Emiliano Martinez's backup, one of his two backups, at the World Cup. So it's a 3-4-2-1 with Jordan Henderson and the number 16, Sivert Mansverk in the centre. Joseph Sutalo, Ahmed Chan Kaplan, and Jorel Hatto are the back three, with Devin Rensch and Borna Sosa, the Croatian international, the wing backs. Christian Plinson is expected to play in the attacking midfield role, a sort of a pivot, one pivot alongside Kenneth Taylor. And Brian Brobby, another Dutch international, is the lone striker up front. And on the bench, confirmed Rulli is on the bench along with former Arsenal youth Chuba Akpom and several others. And of course, we will keep an update on this. We'll focus on this particular game as it happens. And I'm hoping that Hanno will possibly join us later on. And I'm going to take a look through the comments. Mr. Beehive of Football, nice one. Big up to you as well, mate. Bit cheeky. Big up to you, Chelsea fan. Hopefully the other Chelsea fan will be coming in. A reminder, do keep hitting the like button and subscribe to the channel, especially if you're new. And Jordan Henderson and John McGinn, they've had several battles over the years. It's England against Scotland, if you will, in Birmingham. And a lot will be riding for Henderson as he tries to continue to prove that he is worthy of a place in England's squad for the upcoming Euro Championships. No such problems for John McGinn. He is expected to be one of Steve Clarke's confirmed starters. It could very well be a 3-4-3 with Hlinson, Taylor, and Brobby going up front, but Hlinson and Taylor might end up dropping back a little bit and leaving Brobby on his own. Brobby, Sutalo, Hatto, and Rensch are on yellow cards in this game. And I want to find out if there are any such disciplinary issues for Aston Villa. I don't think I was able to notice that. But we will start the game very soon. And in fact, it is almost time to start. So I will read your comments as the game goes on. But it will be time to start very soon. And the Ajax players are in a huddle, so I can go through maybe a few more comments, perhaps. Yep. Big up Chelsea fans. Should be a good game. Confirmed West Ham went through 5-0, 5-1 on aggregate. Poor old Rangers. Hi to LFC for life. Good luck to Liverpool. I'm an Arsenal fan, but yep. 2-1 win for Aston Villa, says Chelsea fan. Tony in the England squad. Mr. B says 2-0 to Villa. And that's the way it is. And so Ajax, to kick off this game, attacking from left to right in their change strip of all black. And it is, of course, a pass back to Kaplan, I think, in the centre of the defence. And Kaplan sends it forward over the head of Morgan Rogers, the former Middlesbrough player who signed for Villa in the January window. And it is, in fact, Hlinson who tries to send it forward, and he ends up winning a throw off Alex Moreno. So already Ajax making it clear that they have come here to attack, and Aston Villa's high line will be under a lot of pressure tonight. Wrench trying to send it into the penalty area, but nobody is on the end of that, and Pau Torres is able to watch that go out of play. And Unai Emery is under pressure, of course, as the camera pans to him. Obviously, his team were on the receiving end of shellacking by Spurs, as mentioned earlier, which did potentially irreparable damage to their Champions League qualification hopes. They will have to try and recover tonight. Potentially a lot riding on this particular game, the chance to go further in a European competition. And Villa, of course, are at least one of the big favourites to win this. Matty Cash heading that out and conceding a throw. And so far, Ajax have not allowed their English counterparts to settle. Henderson winning the ball and sending it forward. Brobby and Torres will have to be at his best to try to get that out of play, intercepting Henderson. But once again, Aston Villa concede a throw, and already Villa seem to be under the cosh. Well, they can try and clear it out right now. I do believe that's Diego Carlos who's trying to send it forward. Diaby escaping his attacker magnificently. He's got Rogers and Watkins up in support, but his pass into the penalty area wasn't the best. However, Aston Villa do win a throw. And are they going to try and hit Ajax on the counter? We'll have to see. Obviously, the strategy of trying to hit Spurs on the counter-attack worked in the first half, but in the second, they were absolutely, ripped to shreds. And John McGinn sending off for that awful lunge on Destiny Udogie did not help matters either. Torres trying to send it forward. And Luiz, in fact, wins it back. And Moreno getting the better of Wrench, but unable to go further with that. Pau Torres, the number 14. A number normally reserved for a midfielder or even perhaps a striker. Diego Carlos with the number 3, normally reserved for the left back. Although in Brazil, the central defenders normally wear 3 and the left back wears number 6. Diaby running onto that and receiving that. He's got, it looks as though it's Leon Bailey who's got that. Passing it to Diaby right now. Interplay between Bailey and Diaby. Carlos now. Matthew Cash. And in the absence of Ezri Konsa, who, of course, picked up a red card in the first leg, it will be Carlos and Torres to try to calm things down in the centre of the defence. No room, obviously, for the former Arsenal and Fulham defender, Callum Chambers, in tonight's squad. But maybe if he stays until the end of the season, Aston Villa go far, he will be back in the squad before we know it. And Villa, of course, have been affected by injuries at the wrong possible time. And how they end up recovering from that will remain to be seen. Certainly a European run could either help them or hurt them. West Ham proved that it could be possible. Torres passing it back to Martinez. Martinez obviously having stated that his aim is to try and win silverware with Aston Villa. And this could very well be the best opportunity for him, especially given the rather overcrowded nature of the Europa League with several outstanding teams in the mix. Several of which are, of course, playing tonight, including Liverpool. And I will, of course, get to the updates very soon. And that is Hato, who passes that back to Right, but not a very good pass back with Watkins intercepting that, but he probably took a little bit of a heavy touch, and that ended up going out for a goal kick. Ramaj there not happy with his defender. Actually, he has no reason to be angry with his defender because it was a poor clearance from him, but thankfully his blushes were eventually spared. Jorel Hatto there. Obviously, the one to whom Ramaj was intending to pass. And the Ajax coach is, of course, the former Dutch international John van Schip, I should say, who was a fairly key component of the Dutch teams of the early 90s, which, of course, competed in Italia 90 and Euro 92. Wrench, the wing-back, passing it to Henderson. Back to Wrench. And that is Sutalo. To Mansverk, the other central midfielder. Back to Sutalo. Henderson's now more or less on the right, and he passes it back to his central defender. That is Kaplan to Haito. So obviously Ajax preferring to use the back three, which was used by Louis van Gaal, another Ajax legend, by the Netherlands in the Qatar World Cup. And of course, the Netherlands came up against Emi Martinez's Argentina in the quarterfinals and ended up losing on penalties in what was a very, very contentious clash. Cash with no option but to pass back to Martinez, and Ajax are pressing very well, but Villa can certainly hit on the counter. And it's quite interesting that Villa are not really able to afford to play the way they normally do in the Premiership tonight, because this European clash really is a winner-take-all one. Whoever wins this tie will definitely go through. And Schip, of course, 60 years old, 41 caps for the Netherlands, as mentioned. And Pan, in fact, also has fame as a part of the Euro 88 winning squad, along with the likes of Marco van Basten and Hans van Breukelen, along with Ruud Gullit, Frank Rijkaard, and several others. Sadly, wasn't picked to play for the Netherlands in USA 1994 and retired from international football before Euro 96 in England. Time right now to possibly go through an update of some of the other teams that are playing tonight, and as promised, I will keep you all updated. Your guess is as good as mine, I'm afraid. Big up, Mr. B. AFC Always, big up to you, mate. Thank you for joining in. Certainly, I wouldn't go so far to call it a good win, but it was certainly a good result. And we're through to the Champions League quarterfinals, and we will await the draw tomorrow to find out who we will get. And confirmation, of course, that Rangers are out of Europe, so no Scottish clubs in the quarterfinals, but West Ham are through, and could they be expected to be joined by Liverpool? Brighton, maybe not so much. And I can confirm that Liverpool have taken a 1-0 lead against Sparta Prague to go ahead 6-1 on aggregate. Darwin Núñez on 7 minutes. So, in fact, forget about that. They are actually 2-0 ahead and 7-1 on aggregate. Although, Bobby Clark barely 60 seconds later. So that's it. No need to even focus on Liverpool right now. They are as good as through, but we will get back to the score whenever we can. Goalless at the Amex at the moment between Brighton and Roma, and goalless at the Bay Arena between Leverkusen and Karabag. And we see Ajax now starting to move really well in the centre and possibly down the right, with Wrench moving up. Henderson sending that forward, hoping to find a teammate, but it's sort of swung away from Kenneth Taylor there. But Taylor does have it back. Mansberg. Hatto. Henderson, whose team are former team right now, are doing really well against Prague. And that goal by Bobby Clark is his first senior goal, so well done to him. Kaplan. Sutalo. And we are, of course, coming up to the 10-minute mark, and we do clock 10 minutes at Villa Park. It is Aston Villa 0, Ajax 0. And I will have to, of course, change the banner. I know that I've got the order wrong. And according to Chelsea fan, Liverpool are now 3-0 up and 8-1 on aggregate. So thank you for providing those updates. I think it's fair to say that all of you are watching that particular game. And so I think it's fair to say that Liverpool are safely through. The Jurgen Klopp farewell tour continues. And it continues in relentless fashion. Much better. Kaplan retrieving the ball. Sending it forward. That is Mansberg, who finds Wrench on the right. And it's Wrench up against Moreno, who's being given a bit of a run around here. Wrench coming and cutting in. Shot. And rather than let that go out for a goal kick, Emi Martinez happy to pounce on that rather limp effort from Mansberg. And so a lot will be riding on Emi Martinez's shoulders tonight. Vice captain for the night, but obviously took the captain's armband after Mcginn got sent off and will in fact be wearing the captain's armband for Villa's next 3 Premiership games. The former Arsenal goalkeeper has become a pivotal member of Aston Villa's side. And Mcginn trying to send that forward, intercepted by Borna Sosa, the Croatian, and that will be an Aston Villa throw. But Villa not able to quite find a way through the organised 3-4-2-1 formation of Ajax. And normally when Villa have their players fit, they also have the ability to play a back 3 themselves. Normally with Ezri Konsa as part of that back 3 and Matthew Cash bombing down the right as a wing back. And a long kick from Martinez finds his counterpart, Ramaj. It's with Yoral Hatto now. Kaplan. Henderson retrieving that. Playing very deep now in his own half. Mansberg. Hatto. And despite the intentions of both Diaby and Watkins, this time Ramaj has no problems with his clearance. But Watkins is running onto him, and Ramaj needs to be a bit careful. Eventually, Ramaj gets that away. And Mcginn looking perhaps a little bit sluggish, not quite able to shake off Kenneth Taylor, but he has, in fact, earned his side a free kick. The referee for tonight is Aurel Grinfeld. Certainly, I'm assuming it might be a Belgian referee, because obviously you cannot have and 2 Israeli teams in the competition. Contrasting fortunes, of course. Maccabi Tel Aviv dominating their first leg against Olympiacos, and that should be a free kick for Aston Villa. And the first booking of the night to Sivert Mansberg for a rather clumsy-looking challenge. And Jordan Henderson, the former Liverpool skipper, not really happy with that. Diaby going for the ball and getting that, and that challenge really looked clumsy. The more and more you look at it, the more you see it really is clumsy. So, 14 minutes gone, and it will be an Aston Villa free kick. Leon Bailey looks to be standing over this, and he might be the one to take this. And Aston Villa have several bodies in and around the penalty area at the moment, including I think Diaby, who has gone up and... Ooh, had Moreno got on the end of that, that could potentially have been a shot on target, but wonderfully executed. I think Moreno was just a millisecond too late. Beautifully curled in, hoping to find Moreno, but in fact, it was Moreno and Diego Carlos who were running towards the end of that. Sort of curled probably a bit too back towards the goalkeeper, and Moreno couldn't get on the end of that. So we're seeing a lot of good Dutch pressing and some good Aston Villa counter-attacking play. But Villa cannot afford to be too lackadaisical. And Watkins is down in the penalty area, clutching his knee. Not a good sign, of course. A part of the England squad for their upcoming friendlies. And this doesn't look too good for the Englishman, who has been arguably their star this season. And this is an absolute choker for the young Englishman. And the referee has, in fact, reached for a card, I believe. I wonder who he's booking at this particular point. Maccabi Tel Aviv, of course, are coached by the former Spurs, Liverpool and Ireland striker Robbie Keane, who did, in fact, play a few games for Aston Villa on loan. So if Maccabi Tel Aviv and Aston Villa do play each other in the latter stages, it could certainly be a tasty, tasty clash. And you can see there, Watkins, I believe that card will be for Watkins because he caught Ramage on his foot. And not really a wise thing for the England striker to do. He's still in a degree of pain, and I think it's fair to say that Grenfell is saving that yellow card for when Watkins eventually recovers and is able to get up. And this will add a lot of time to the amount of stoppages. Yuri Tillerman's over there warming up as we speak. And the comments are flying in. Thank you all very much indeed. And according to... I see Spencer Stewart now. The Liverpool game is a massacre, just as well that we're probably not covering it, but thank you very much for joining in, mate. And do please say hello to Statman Stubbs if you get the chance. Big up, everyone. And it's 4-0 now with Cody Gakpo getting on the score sheet. So 9-1 ahead on aggregate, and save some of these for the Manx on Sunday. Couldn't agree more. Feel really bad for their fans who made the trip from the Czech Republic to watch this. Chelsea fan with a point. Feeling really bad for the Luton fans who saw their team go 3-0 up against Bournemouth, hoping to secure an amazing win in tribute to their captain, Tom Lockyer, only to see the Cherries come back and win 4-3. An amazing game for the neutral. Ecstasy for Cherries fans, agony for Luton Town supporters. And this is not a good sign right now because Watkins is having his legs strapped. Whether he will be fit to continue, I don't know. And obviously, for what it's worth, there is no Premiership action this weekend. And it is confirmed that Watkins has been booked for that ill-judged lunge on Ramage, which didn't cause too much damage to it didn't cause any damage, in fact, to the Ajax keeper, but has in fact damaged Ollie Watkins' knee. Not quite Paul Gascoigne against Gary Charles in the 1991 FA Cup. And Watkins able to somehow shake that off and jog a little gingerly, but whether or not he will be able to continue will remain to be seen. And as I said, with Aston Villa out of the FA Cup, they, like Arsenal, will not be playing for the best part of a fortnight. In fact, more than a fortnight, I would say. Sutalo. Kaplan. And Hato ending up passing it back to Sutalo. Henderson gets the ball now. Sending it forward, and Moreno has to be at his best to stop Plinson from getting too much on that. And for all of their endeavour, Ajax haven't really forced Emi Martinez into making a save, but Diant Ramage hasn't exactly been tested either. And Watkins is fit enough to come back onto the field, albeit with strapping on his leg. And it does look as though it's not a very serious injury, and he should be able to recover in time to be a part of the England squad for their upcoming friendlies against Brazil and Belgium, I believe. Douglas Luiz trying to be sent forward by Diaby, but that is easily intercepted. And Ajax do win a free kick, a pretty poorly timed tackle. And Villa just aren't able to find their feet as we approach the 20-minute mark. And Kaplan now on the floor. And Diaby, who was the recipient of a poor foul, committing a poor foul himself there. 20 minutes gone. Aston Villa 0, Ajax 0 at Villa Park. And no goals yet at the Amex Stadium, no goals in Atalanta, and no goals at the Bay Arena. And Aston Villa once again trying to force the issue on the counter, but Ramaj and the defence are able to clear effectively well. And in fact, through Brian Brobby, Ajax can come forward. And across into the penalty area, but well headed up into the air rather by Alex Moreno, and Emi Martinez, safe as a house, says, thank you very much. Torres, Douglas Luiz, who's playing the Henderson role tonight, as it were. And Villa cannot afford to be lackadaisical in defence because Ajax actually did have the better chances in that first leg and could perhaps have snatched it. I was actually on the stream with Eugene from Spurs Asia TV, based in Malaysia, of course. Rogers now with the ball. Can he send Bailey up front? Better. He finds Diaby, but I don't know if he's going to be offside or not. Into the penalty area. Bailey! And that wasn't too far away. Well, actually, it was getting a little bit far away, cutting onto his left foot and aiming a shot. I think it was probably moving a little bit further away to the left, but a great move by... yeah, I think well, for some reason, the right linesman didn't even raise his flag. I'd like to think, though, that if that goal had been scored, the flag would have been raised. But anyway, the flag normally gets raised regardless, so an opportunity there for Aston Villa as they look to try and soak up the Dutch pressure and hit them on the counter. And not the best of goal kicks from Ramaj. That goes out for an Aston Villa throw. And Spencer talking about Luton Town, saying that if they don't win on Saturday, they could very well be done. They've got to play Tottenham and Arsenal away, Bournemouth again at home, and then Manchester City at the Etihad. Injuries catching up with Luton Town, I'm afraid. And injuries, of course, were catching up with Aston Villa. Some of their players have been able to come back into the team, including Pau Torres, but it's another reminder that Villa are sadly, just like Arsenal, very much a first 11 team. And hopefully, if they secure Champions League qualification for next season, they will be able to redress the squad balance by buying a few players. Although the big fear is that they could be forced into selling the likes of Douglas Luiz and Ollie Watkins. Even Stevens with regard to ball possession so far between both teams. Wrench. Linson. Back to Sutalo. Wrench to Linson again, who's come back into a right wing spot. And it's on the line. But again, sort of a hopeful ball more than anything else. Doesn't find anyone. And Martinez is able to tip it forward to Pau Torres, who can try and continue the play. And obviously, Martinez has evolved his play to become more of a sweeper keeper. Rogers now to Diaby in the penalty area. He's able to escape the clutches of Ramaj, but took a little bit too long with that. I think he was waiting for more people to come in and, join the cavalry. But great work from Diaby. In the end, I think he just fluffed his lines after taking center stage. For a minute, I thought that Ramaj was going to get that cleanly, but Diaby probably the better thing to do would have been to try to move forward with the ball and try and shoot from a tight angle. I suppose maybe Hato was having that covered, and Ramaj redeeming himself rather with an important leg to deflect that behind for a corner. Douglas Luiz to take it, right-footed, away swinger, into the penalty area, and Aston Villa are 1-0 up, and it's the person who was briefly injured who has put his team ahead. What a way to celebrate being called up to the England squad. Watkins on 25 minutes. Well, we've seen this all too often, haven't we? Aston Villa corner, Douglas Luiz to take it, and Ollie Watkins rising high and handsome above everyone else. Escaping his marker, the defence nowhere to be seen, Ramaj with no chance, and Aston Villa are 1-0 up. They've broken the duck in this tie, because remember, it was goalless from the first leg. And without the away goals rule, Aston Villa can now play without a little bit of fear. Now, if I had the ability to do so, I probably would put a poll out to find out if all of you in the chat are in favour of the away goals rule being abolished, because there's always a part of me that believes that the away goals rule added so much more to the drama of these European ties, and especially with regard to international playoff ties, the away goals rule really lent a great deal of more intrigue. As it happened, we've seen two Champions League round of 16 clashes go to penalties. Atletico and Inter Milan went last night, and of course Arsenal and Porto went the night before. Had the away goals rule still been in vogue, as we would say, Inter would have gone through. And Rodgers over there turning from hero to villain with a foul on Wrench, and that will be an Ajax free kick. And Ajax now have to try and recover from that setback to go forward and equalise. Kaplan passing it back to Ramaj. So if any of you are in the chat, you can definitely answer this question. Are you in favour of the away goals rule being abolished? I personally am not. And we're seeing right now that without the away goals rule, teams are just more inclined to play for penalties. You wouldn't have had that if the away goals rule had been still in force. 6 goals in 8 matches now for the England striker and former Brentford striker. So, Mr. B, I'm glad you're in the chat. And all I can say is that, you had a real gem playing for you. And maybe there's a part of you that wants him back. I don't know. We'll have to see. Rodgers trying to receive that and go forward, but Wrench pretty much has that covered. Rodgers clearly being shown a great deal of faith, and not the best of clearances by Wrench, because Moreno was onto that, but Moreno being a bit overambitious, running into Wrench like a train hitting the buffers. Brubby back to Mansverk, who sends it forward. Borna Sosa on the left, a key player in Croatia's run to the semi-finals of the World Cup in 2022. Croatia, of course, coming up against Argentina in the semi-finals. And it was Sosa's defensive teammate, Josko Gvardiol, who was twisted all the way to Sunday by Lionel Messi for that goal scored by Julian Alvarez. Mcginn receiving the ball from Luiz, and doesn't seem to be steady of late, the Aston Villa skipper. Finds Cash, who eventually finds Bailey on the wing. And it looks as though Bailey and Diaby might be interchanging positions between striker and winger. Or maybe not. Mcginn to Pau Torres, who's come forward. Diego Carlos. Diaby, hoping to find Watkins, but an excellent intercepting tackle by Hato. But the danger isn't over yet for Ajax. Torres. Moreno. And Bailey, of course, trying to go forward with that. Mcginn finds what looks like Watkins. Yep. Bailey, Diaby. Watkins was wide on the wing, but Aston Villa win another free kick. And Henderson is not a happy chappy at the moment. A foul on Leon Bailey there, so... Well, while they're organising that free kick, I am going to, of course, add this banner and put it out for all of you. Are you in favour of the away goals rule being scrapped? I've made it clear that I'm not, but I'm very interested to hear what you all might have to say. In the meantime, though, back to the football. Douglas Luiz will be taking this free kick. It's 1-0 Aston Villa. Can they make it 2-0? Diaby once again running up towards the goalkeeper. He will be expected to run back. And Ramaj punches it clear. Lewis's free kick not finding anyone, and the Brazilian is forced to pass back to his Argentinian teammate. The big RG between the sticks. Sutalo on the floor, but he should be fine. And Watkins once again on the floor. It wouldn't surprise me if Emery decides to take him off and rest him, really, because if he feels some discomfort, it might not be worth continuing. And it looks as though he is, in fact, coming off. And we see the Villa Park crowd rising to their feet. Yeah, good call. Not really worth, risking him. And it will be an opportunity for possibly Yuri Tielemans to come on and remind the Villa Park faithful what he can do. You can see him wincing and grimacing as he goes off. So, well, it isn't Tielemans who's coming on. It is, in fact, the Colombian John Duran who's coming on. His mouth is alive with juices like wine, and he is hungry like the wolf. A little Duran for all of you. But anyway, confirmation. Ollie Watkins out, John Duran in. And, yep, Chelsea fan agrees with me, but I am interested once again to hear what a lot of other people think. And so I will keep alternating between this question and the scoreline. At the moment, it's back with Kaplan, who passes it to Henderson. Henderson can try and send it forward, hoping to find Sosa on the left, but Cash over there intercepting that. And now he has to try and find Leon Bailey, which he does quite well. And Diaby's gone forward, and Diaby meets that, but Kaplan intercepting that very well and conceding a throw. There was, of course, a singer by the name of Johnny Durango, not quite the same. We're going to see if Aston Villa will be singing a happy tune at the end of this game tonight, because they are 1-0 up, but they've lost Ollie Watkins to that injury. And I think Watkins will be looking at that and saying, you know what, I never should have attempted to tackle the goalkeeper. But as far as I'm concerned, your defense will be in trouble with Watkins in the room, not Eddie Nketiah. And Emery now has to negotiate the last potential hour of this tie without his star striker. As for John Van Schip, he's seen his team go 1-0 down. They've got to try to come back into this tie. Henderson now retrieving the ball and passing it back to his goalkeeper, who will try to send it forward. And Moreno once again being forced into action. And so far, up against Linson, he's done really well indeed. But Henderson heading that back in. And Mansberg heading that forward. But Moreno should have that covered, despite Brobby's best intentions. And sadly for Villa, Brobby forces a throw. To be taken by Wrench. Back to Wrench from Henderson. Wrench, of course, into the penalty area, but Mcginn rising to defend that. And it's Rodgers now up against Henderson, and he wins that battle. Almost a nice T-side, weir side battle going on, because let's not forget, Henderson is, of course, a former Sunderland player. Diaby going around Hato. And hoping to find... Well, it is with Bailey in the penalty area, and that should be a corner. And it is, much to the delight of the Aston Villa faithful. Well, the interplay between Diaby and Bailey has been absolutely magnificent tonight, and Kaplan rushing back to do some very desperate defending indeed. And Villa's centre-backs, Torres and Carlos, are right up there as we speak. And Kaplan was on the floor for quite a bit of time. I wonder if he's got a similar knee problem now. Once again, it will be Luiz to take this corner. Right-footed, in-swinger. Duran and company are in the penalty area. It was swinging in towards the goal, but Ramaj punches it away, and Sosa is able to clear that away and sending it forward. And I'll tell you what, Kenneth Taylor wasn't actually it was Sivert Mansverk rather who was running hard onto the end of that, but Moreno with an assured header back to Martinez. And has play been stopped? I think it has, because Ahmed Khan Kaplan is on the floor right now. His knee does look a little bit red. So in the opening 30 minutes or so, we've seen a player from either side go down with a suspected knee injury. And I wonder if Kaplan will be able to continue. One thing for certain is that if he can't continue, John Van Schip will be forced into a defensive change. Great work there from the defender. Turkish, of course. And it does look as though there's a defender about warming up right now, so it could very well be that the Turkish defender might have to leave the field. Any more updates? Well, I can tell you that Sporting Club de Portugal have taken the lead against Atalanta, so they are 2-1 ahead on aggregate. It is still goalless, quite shockingly, between Leverkusen and Karabakh at the Bay Arena. Goalless at the Amex between Brighton and Roma, so it looks as though Brighton's Europa League adventure will be coming to an end, but Roma will continue marching on, as will Liverpool, who are 9-1 ahead on aggregate against Sparta Prague. And, of course, Slavia Prague lost to AC Milan to the tune of 7-3 on aggregate. Their City crosstown counterparts will probably be making a similar ignominious exit. And Kaplan is being escorted off the field right now, and this will add a lot more time to the stoppages added on. We've seen it added for Watkins, and now we can see it added for Kaplan. Could very well be a 4 or 5 minutes added on. In fact, I believe there's a confirmation. He is, in fact, coming off. You can see him looking absolutely distraught, and Van Schip giving him sort of a conciliatory half hug, for want of a better word. And so Ajax forced into a defensive change, and we will confirm who that is at the moment. 7 minutes to go until the end of normal time, but you have to assume that there will be at least 4 or 5 minutes of stoppage time added at the end of the half. Plenty of time, in fact, for Ajax to get an equaliser. So Aston Villa cannot afford to sit back. And mind you, Aston Villa have gained a reputation in recent weeks of being a first-half team. In the second half, they are absolutely dire. Ask Manchester United, ask Luton Town, ask Tottenham Hotspur. Cash down the wing into the penalty area, but Mansverk heads that away. But Cash can get it back. Trying to find Rodgers, but the former Middlesbrough player went a bit too far forward. But the danger isn't over for Ajax as Aston Villa win a throw. Brobby unable to get on the end of that. And it is, in fact, the former Arsenal youth player, Chuba Akpom, who comes on. So it looks as though John Van Schip has opted to go for a back four instead of a back three. So 2 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs, and an extra midfielder to try and counter the work of the Aston Villa midfield. Luiz, Cash, Diaby, and upended from behind very clumsily indeed by Gerald Hatto, and that will be a free kick to Villa. Actually, it's Duran who was upended. My apologies. No booking for the young centre-back. So as we clock 40 minutes at Villa Park, it is Aston Villa 1, Ajax 0. Villa, of course, leading the tie 1-0 on aggregate. Probably no real need to mention the score because, remember, it was 0-0 in the first leg at the Amsterdam Arena. And Villa forcing a throw. Ajax inadvertently sending it backwards. But that throw is backwards now towards Carlos. Cash. Back to Carlos. And he'll probably pass it back to Martinez, who finds Pau Torres with the pass. And Torres passes it back to his goalkeeper. And Torres now has to try and take it forward. Passing it to Moreno, and it goes backwards. And Akpom, and Akpom causing Torres all sorts of discomfort there, but eventually Torres finding Mcginn, and Carlos sending it forward. And Duran is able to get the ball, and this will be a big night for him coming on for Watkins. A lot of talk about how his attitude hasn't been the best in these fallen foul of Emery. So the Colombian with an opportunity to prove a point and maybe secure Aston Villa's passage to the quarterfinals. Chuba Amechi Akpom. Born in London to Nigerian parents. And in fact, he was a member of the youth team at Arsenal from 2002 to 2013 and played 4 senior games for the team, left in 2018. So his and Unai Emery's paths didn't exactly cross. Because remember, Emery joined Arsenal in 2018 as a replacement for the long-serving Arsene Wenger. Ramaj with the ball. And that is Hatto. So it looks as though it'll be Sutalo and Hatto in the back four as centre-backs, with Wrench and Sosa full-backs. Akpom, of course, forming a part of the midfield, along with Henderson, Mansverk and company. I would expect, it should be Linson, Akpom, Henderson and Mansverk in the midfield, with Taylor and Brobby playing off each other up front. Wrench, Henderson. Brobby trying to make something of that, but has his pocket picked by Rodgers, who finds Duran, sends it across to Cash, who keeps it in play. And Emery urging his players to show a little bit more urgency, but remain calm at the same time. Diego Carlos. Pau Torres. Passing it back to Emi Martinez. And Douglas Luiz there, passing it to Carlos. Cash retrieving the ball. And passing it back to Martinez. And you can see several Ajax players rushing towards Martinez to try to do to him what Watkins was trying to do to Diant Ramaj earlier on in the game. But a dreadful piece of play there from Sutalo, and he doesn't recover from that with Diaby retrieving the ball. Diaby passing it to Bailey on the right. He could have possibly tried to send Duran forward, but Bailey now with his twinkle toes to Rodgers. Mcginn possibly lining up a shot. Blocked. Well, he didn't take the shot immediately. He had to stop and then take it to try and take the ball away. But still, the danger isn't quite clear for Ajax. Luiz finding Rodgers. And probably a little bit too eager with that shot. Pretty much, it wasn't exactly on target, but it was sort of between the sticks, as it were. Had he kept a little bit lower, he probably would have caused Ramaj more than a few problems, but not exactly catching it very well. Not quite getting his laces through that, always sending that high, and I think Ramaj would have had that covered anyway. So coming up to the end of normal time in the first half, it is still Ajax trailing by a goal to nil. Ollie Watkins scoring in the 25th minute, but going off with a knee problem not too long afterwards. Henderson hoping to find Sosa in the penalty area, but Cash well alert. However, the danger isn't over for Villa, and it is confirmed that there will be 5 minutes of added time, so Aston Villa have got to stay on their guard. Henderson back to Wrench. Sutalo. Hato. Back to Sutalo, whose unfortunate slip very nearly let Aston Villa in a few moments ago, but and a brilliant ball to Sosa, but has he taken it too far? No, he hasn't. And obviously the cutback was hoping to find Kenneth Taylor, but Taylor had moved a little bit too far forward, and Bailey was able to reclaim that. Carlos to Luiz, and still isn't quite danger-free for Villa just yet, but now it could very well be. Bailey with a pass to Diaby, hoping to find Rodgers, but Wrench cuts that off. Henderson. Christian Hlinson, the number 38. His duel with Moreno tonight has been outstanding, really. You could say that Moreno has pretty much come out on top, but there is still plenty of time for Ajax to come back into this game. Not with a pass like that, though, as Wrench inadvertently gives it away. And Bailey sending it ahead, but Ramaj coming out perfectly, timing his run to perfection. Brilliant starting position, and the danger is snuffed out for now. Linson. Henderson. Manswerk. And this really will be man's work for Ajax to get back into this tie in front of this really raucous Aston Villa crowd who would love to see their team in the quarterfinals of this competition. And of course, the draw for this competition, once the matches are done, will also be made later on. I would assume that it would be at a somewhat later date, or if it is tomorrow, the same time as the Champions League, we will find out and we will let you know. Taylor. Hato. Manswerk. Sutalo. Wrench. Linson. Brobby trying to run up. And Brobby is sent on his merry way, going past Moreno, doing some brilliant work there, the Dutchman, but that attempted cross was anything but brilliant. I think he put a little bit too much leg into that. And we're halfway through the 5 minutes of stoppage time that's been played, and it is still Aston Villa 1, Ajax 0. And we've got more comments coming in. I will still 4-0 Liverpool. And a huge update. Brighton have taken a 1-0 lead. Will it be enough to help them go through? We don't know. Well, Marseille actually had a 1-0. Villarreal rather actually did have a 1-0 lead at half-time earlier tonight, and they went on to score 2 more goals and were dreaming of the unthinkable. But then Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with some brilliant work down the left, assisting Jonathan Klaus, and that put the tie to bed in the 4th minute of stoppage time. Liverpool have conceded a goal as well. I wouldn't say the comeback's on, mate. It will take a lot more than that. I know you're being sarcastic anyway. And yes, Danny Welbeck, the former Arsenal and Manchester United striker, receiving an assist from Estupinian in the 37th minute to put Brighton 1-0 up, but they are still 4-1 behind on aggregate. Anyway, I will find out who scored that goal. It was Birmancevic, number 14 for Sparta Prague. A long ball forward, dropping kindly to the man on loan from Toulouse. And he makes no mistake, poking the ball past Caoimhin Kelleher, who has also been called up to the Ireland squad by John O'Shea for his team's upcoming friendlies. still expected to be second choice behind Gavin Bazunu, but I'm assuming that he will play in one of those games. And Ajax not exactly keeping the ball in play, or did they? Well, that was a really, really important piece of defensive work there from Matthew Cash. Brian Brobby making an absolute nuisance of himself for Aston Villa. As we come up to 30 seconds left in stoppage time, it is still Aston Villa 0, Ajax 0, but only just. And Villa's defence holding firm. And we will recap that as and when we get time. It's all happening at Villa Park right now. Sivert Mansberg sending it forward. And Christian Linson trying to run onto that, but this time Alex Moreno remembers his defensive duty and gets it to Morgan Rogers. And that is, in fact, the halftime whistle. And you would have to assume that Unai Emery would be marginally the more satisfied manager. But I'll tell you what, I don't know if we're going to receive any, get any highlights of that particular. We are. Great work in there. And Bobby with the shot on goal, but Cash clearing off the line. I'm not too sure that was necessarily going on target, but you can never take your chances in a Europa Conference League tie or any European tie such as this. And so Aston Villa are 45 minutes away from a spot in the Europa Conference League quarterfinals as it stands. They lead by an Ollie Watkins goal. And for Ajax Amsterdam, they've got it all to do. A lot of man's work to try and overcome this deficit. And at half, it is 4-1 at Anfield at half time. Well confirmed. Birmancevic adding a consolation. And quite shockingly, as we've just come to the half-time mark at the Bay Arena, it is still goalless in Germany as it stands. And although the Azerbaijanis have not had a shot on target, their defending has been resolute. Xabi Alonso's team has been dominant, but they haven't been able to turn their superiority into goals. Half-time in Italy, it is Sporting Club de Portugal who are 1-0 up. This is, of course, from the Europa League. And confirmation that Benfica, West Ham, AC Milan and Marseille are already through to the quarterfinals. And as far as the Conference League concerned, Fenerbahce, Fiorentina, PAOK Salonika, and Victoria Plzen are through. It finished goalless in Plzen, but they ended up winning against Servette 3-1 on penalties. And other scores around Olympiacos, well, what do you know? Just when you thought that Tel Aviv had one foot in the quarterfinal themselves, a huge shock result here possible. Olympiacos clearly having had their backsides kicked at home by the Israelis are now turning the tables on them in spectacular style. Robbie Keane's team potentially in danger of going out. 45 minutes to go, a huge one ahead in Tel Aviv. Sturm Graz 3-0 down from the first leg, 1-1 against Lille on the night, but 4-1 down on aggregate. It is 2-2 between Club Brugge and the Norwegian side, Molde, which is, of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's former team. But we will, of course, provide you with some more updates, of course, from the Conference League and the Europa League as they happen. And I'm not too sure. Yeah, confirmation, of course, that Brighton are also 1-0 ahead of Roma, with Danny Welbeck putting the English side ahead. They are still 4-1 down on aggregate, but if Villarreal could give Marseille a scare, there's no reason why Brighton can't do so. And Brighton have had their share of terrific nights in the Europa League group stage. Could this be one more? Aaron in the chat. This isn't really so much a comedy cup. I think Hanno decided that it was nice to watch this game because of how finely poised it was. Liverpool are pretty much as good as through, 9-2 on aggregate. And, Roma, of course, went into the tie, the second leg, 4-0 up against Brighton. So that tie was perhaps assumed to be all over and done with. But after what happened between Marseille and Villarreal tonight, I'll tell you what, no lead is safe. And further confirmation of that with Olympiacos taking a 3-0 lead in Tel Aviv. So Robbie Keane's Israeli team are really now on the back burner. And of course, if the away goals rule were still in force and it stayed the same, Tel Aviv would still go through, having scored 4 away goals to Olympiacos' 3. So question once again for the chat, are you in favour of the away goals rule being scrapped? I personally am not, but UEFA have made their ruling and we've just got to roll with the punches. So Aston Villa 1, Ajax 0, but as we all know, there is no such thing as a comfortable 1-0 lead. Ajax obviously having at least marginally the better of the early exchanges. Just give me a minute. As I said, Ajax having the better of the early exchanges, despite not forcing Martinez into a save. The Villa always looking to do as well as they could on the counter. And certainly the side that Emery picked tonight has looked to certainly soak up a lot of Dutch pressure. And they've done so quite well. But they did very nearly get pegged back near the end of the half, only for Matthew Cash to prove his value to the side. Matty cashing in with an important goal line clearance. He also did have a brilliant run down the wing into the Ajax penalty area, but unfortunately nothing came of that. I could have I would have if I could have, but I can confirm that the games that are being screened right now are Leverkusen against Karabag, Liverpool against Sparta Prague, Brighton against Roma, and this particular game. So obviously no chance of that. And a little pleasantries over here. We've got a new person over here. Thank you very much indeed. Victoria, British Columbia. I've got a friend of mine who's living in Vancouver right now. Also English like myself from Leeds. He and I were together in university in Florida, and we still keep in touch. Ross Beaumont is his name. And thank you very much for joining in. If you are new to the channel, do please like this video and subscribe. We will look to having and seeing rather more of you as we continue. Welcome to the stream indeed. And of course, a confirmation that this weekend will not see Premiership action, but FA Cup action. A titanic clash between Manchester United and Liverpool this coming Sunday from Old Trafford. These United-Liverpool games have always provided an intriguing history over the years, and this Sunday will be no different, especially when it comes to FA Cup history. Sunday, the 17th of March, I believe it will be 2:45 p.m. Back in the UK. 8:15 over here in India, where I am based. And wherever you are around the world, it is a match you do not want to miss. And prior to that, on Saturday, the defending FA Cup champions and, of course, treble winners, Manchester City, will be hosting Newcastle United at the Etihad. And Newcastle United hoping that an FA Cup win can save their season. But they will have a job on their hands trying to end City's aspirations of defending their treble. City also, of course, very much in the running for the Premier League, hoping to defend their title and become the first 4-time consecutive champion in the history of the Premier League. And they will, in fact, be playing my lot, Arsenal, on Easter Sunday at the Etihad. A game which certainly I will not be missing. Currently, at the moment, my television screen is showing highlights from the previous Europa League matches. And, of course, back to this game, it will be interesting to see how Ajax change their strategy. As I've mentioned, Aston Villa have become notorious for being a team that disintegrates horribly in the second half. They certainly cannot afford to sit back in this game because Ajax have shown some signs that they are very good with their pressing, and with Kenneth Taylor and Brian Brobby going forward a lot and causing problems, along with Christian Flinson and Borna Sosa, they will certainly look to try and take advantage of Villa's rather porous defence. Pau Torres obviously lends a great deal of class to proceedings, but Diego Carlos reminds me a little bit of Martin Keown. Not as tall, very strong, but has the potential to be very clumsy indeed. And I would expect Luca Digne to come on for Alex Moreno later on. Maybe Yuri Tillemans could be given a run out in place of Morgan Rogers, maybe, or someone else as the midfield formation shifts a bit. And obviously with Ahmed Khan Kaplan going off earlier on to be replaced by Chuba Akpom, John Van Schip has gone to what looks like a 4-man or even 5-man midfield, but it also could very well be that Kenneth Taylor and Brobby will be looking to play off one another as the two attackers up front. And another update, of course, both the Rossi and De Zerbi were booked before the end of half-time. Yellow cards flying on the pitch. And obviously, Brighton will be hoping to take some inspiration from Villarreal's near miracle earlier tonight. And if Aston Villa do manage to win, they will make their first European quarterfinal since 1998, after being perhaps marginally the better team. But Emi Martinez, of course, was well beaten, and Matty Cash had to clear Brian Brobby's shot off the line. And Watkins did go off injured, so how much that could affect Villa going on will remain to be seen. Quite fair to say that Ajax were not able to convert their possession and pressing into concrete chances until later on in the half, and it just goes to show that if Villa do start slacking, they will always be prone to any kind of an attack. Yes, and in fact, Watkins was named in the England squad earlier on today at 2 p.m. UK time, but then had to go off injured. And in fact, I do stand corrected. Aston Villa will in fact be playing in the Premiership on Sunday against West Ham. And they will be playing against Brazil at Wembley on the 23rd of March, and then again against Belgium on the 26th of March, which happens to be yours truly's birthday. Villa will desperately need Watkins, and they will hope that he will be able to recover in time. And he should be fit in time for England. And we still haven't quite gone back to Villa Park yet. And there is, of course, another Premiership game, Chelsea and... actually, I think it's an FA Cup game, Chelsea against Leicester on Sunday at 12:45 UK time. So thank you very much indeed. And Mr. B with a very important update. I do believe they have resumed at Anfield, and it is 5-1 to Liverpool. 10-2 on aggregate with Dominic Szoboszlai scoring there. So I'm not too sure if that's... well, I know they have resumed play. And yep, I can confirm that they have indeed resumed play after flipping the channels. We still aren't back at Villa Park yet, and it is still half-time, I do believe. (10-2) on aggregate. A scoreline I remember only too well. But we are coming back to Villa Park. The players coming out. Ramaj, Akpom, and now, of course, Henderson. Henderson has had so many games, titanic battles against Aston Villa in his time as a Liverpool player. And I'm pretty certain that yep, he was in fact, of course, a Sunderland player, born and brought up in Sunderland, of course, local lad for that team. And I'm sure he will have played against Aston Villa quite a few times there. And I can confirm now that Aston Villa have made another substitution with Youri Tielemans coming on. Be interesting to see who he has in fact replaced. And it looks as though he could be on for Morgan Rogers. Yep, I called it. Morgan Rogers. So obviously the Middlesbrough player who seems more comfortable as a forward player, not necessarily having the best night. I mean, he certainly hasn't looked bad, but certainly could be a lot better. And now Tielemans' first job will be to kick Aston Villa off as they attack from left to right and hope to secure their spot in the Europa Conference League quarterfinals. So Tielemans coming on. And it could very well be that he comes into the centre alongside Douglas Luiz, with Mcginn going back onto the left. For the moment, though, Mcginn is still in the centre alongside Douglas Luiz. And Grinfeld trying to restore order. Something clearly not to the Israeli referee's satisfaction, but kickoff delayed, of course. And we are glad to have you here. So, not too long now. Aston Villa about to kick off, and they do kick off with a short back pass back to Douglas Luiz. And Tielemans now has the ball and eventually is able to find John Mcginn going back. Mcginn sending it forward. Does he find Diaby? Yes, he does. Diaby on the left, sending it forward to Moreno, who's overlapped. And that cross more hopeful, not finding anyone in the area, but it is Bailey on the right and Cash overlapping. Bailey sending it across the field to Diaby, who has seemingly gone to the left. And Diaby not quite able to make further ground and passing it back to Pau Torres. Mcginn sending it forward now, hoping to find Duran in the penalty area, but unfortunately for the Colombian, he ended up, seeing that go back onto his hand, and that will be an Ajax free kick. So promising signs there for the Colombian, able to get in behind that. It hit his elbow really, and it was away from his body. Unnatural position. The letter of the law says it's a free kick, and an excellent height for a possible goal, but not quite on target. In any case, it would have been disallowed. And so a reminder, we'd like your views on whether you're in favour of the away goals rule being scrapped. And of course, had the away goals rule not been scrapped, Ajax could score tonight, see the tie end 1-1, and go through on the away goals rule. But that is something for which Aston Villa might or might not be grateful. For the moment, though, they've got to try and go forward. Sutalo passing that to Wrench. Wrench is now settled into the right back position. He was a right wing back in the first half before Kaplan went off injured. Henderson hoping to send Brobby forward. And this time Torres has the responsibility of trying to hold off the big Dutchman. And he ends up earning a free kick for his team. And Brobby not happy with that decision at all. Robbie, of course, very nearly equalising for Ajax on the night, only for Matthew Cash to say, not tonight, Brian. And some poor play there from John Mcginn, sees the ball retrieved by Ajax into the penalty area. And Ajax are claiming there should be a penalty, but Greenfield is not interested in that. And so once again, Ajax have to clear their lines. And John Mcginn has looked very unsteady tonight, very uncharacteristic from the Scotland international. But from almost nothing, Aston Villa have a chance to break forward. Wonderful pass to Diaby, but Duran went a bit too far forward to receive that. And play, well, I'm not too sure what Borna Sosa was thinking, but it looks as though Grenfell has awarded a free kick to Aston Villa, but McGinn slipping at the worst possible time, seeing the ball being intercepted by Ajax. I think Taylor put him under pressure. And Aston Villa somehow find a way to survive. Cash with the throw. Tielemans back to Cash. And will that be a goal kick? Yes, it will. Cash running back. Got 4 comments in already. 6-1 to Liverpool now. Gakpo with his second, and I am glad we didn't decide to do a Liverpool-Villa double bill tonight. Stepsy in the chat, big up to you, and thanks a lot for coming on. And Ajax now once again trying to get away, but Villa looking indeed very dangerous on the counter, and I think Emery has, adopted the right strategy for tonight. Luiz finding Bailey in the middle. Bailey's not exactly good with his right foot. His right foot is his wrong foot, it has to be said. And Luiz weakly sending that over, and no one able to get on the end of that, and that will be a goal kick. And clearly, Emery looking rather animated on the touchline. Clearly, he wants to see his team score a second. A long kick by Ramaj finds Martinez. Yep. Cracker indeed by Welbeck. Heartbreaker for Luton yesterday. Big up Stepsy. And yep, I do share my commiserations to you. Not the result you wanted. And now, well, at the moment now, Aston Villa are very under the cosh. Villa forcing them back. And Villa, in fact, win a throw-in. And this is why Aston Villa cannot afford to relax for 1 minute. And this will not please Unai Emery one bit as we come right up to the 50-minute mark. In fact, we've just clocked 15 minutes. It is Aston Villa 1, Ajax 0, but that could potentially change. Moreno now somehow heading that away, but the danger not yet over. Akpom coming in and making a nuisance of himself. Going around Torres, but the Villa defender winning a free kick off the former Arsenal youth player. Injuries have caught up. The first 11 are knackered, but thankfully there is an international break. And it certainly was a very hurtful result. I do feel for you. I know I do have some Bournemouth loyalties given my work with Bournemouth Fan Channel. Shout out, of course, to the UTC IAD channel, up the cherries in all departments. Craig Beasley and I often get together to record the cherry picking episodes on Thursday nights, and they are released the following day. But a real heartbreaker for Luton, especially with Tom Lockyer in attendance and that wonderful tribute that was paid to him. Cash, McGinn. And Pau Torres, of course, preventing a possible Ajax counter by conceding a throw and enabling Villa to come back. And Torres, of course, hooking that now up into the air, but unable to find Bailey. It was Mansberg who headed it forward. And it's Brobby against Carlos, but Carlos wins that battle, but concedes a throw in the process. And that is with Jorel Hatto, who can find Borna Sosa on the left, which he does. Back to Hatto. Sutalo. Mansverk. And that is sent forward, but sent back. It is back with Mansverk, though. That was Wrench who tried to send it forward. And nearly sending Brobby through, but Brobby losing his footing at the wrong time. And now Aston Villa can try and come back through Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey up against Jorel Hatto. And at the moment, the Jamaican winger seems to be winning the battle, but Sosa coming back to help out his teammate, and that attack breaks down. And a pass back to Diant Ramaj, the Ajax goalkeeper, playing tonight, of course, ahead of 2021 Europa League winner with Unai Emery's Villarreal, and also World Cup winner with Argentina, Geronimo Rulli, who I believe started the season as Ajax's number one, but saw his place lost due to an injury. And Mcginn at the moment not able to get the ball back, and I think you can see the Aston Villa skipper starting to look a bit leggy, and that's not really a good sign for him. The tackle, the lunge he made against Udogie must be weighing on his mind. And at the moment, Brobby getting that ball brilliantly, but Carlos shrugging him off, and Brobby is clearly not happy with that decision. But Carlos there showing his experience in the way. Doing some great work there, but I think the referee, Greenfeld, feeling that he went to ground a little bit too easily. And Aston Villa once again have got to try to break free. And eventually Torres finds Mcginn, who can send it forward. Tielemans ends up sending it forward to Diaby, who's gone to the left. Hopeful cross, and Ramaj eventually catches that, plucking that out of the air. A bit of a stretch, really, but he was able to hold on to it. And so Robbie of Ghanaian descent, and he was included in the preliminary squad for that World Cup, but didn't make the final 26. But in October 2023, he did receive an official call up to the senior national team for 2 qualifiers against France and Greece for the Euros. And he currently has 1 senior cap for the Netherlands to his credit. 22 years old, definitely a lot expected of him in the future. Certainly a very strong player, one who can power through. Henderson. Carlos meeting that header, only as far as Taylor. Sosa trying to get on the end of that, and he does. Gets away from Matthew Cash. Passes it to Henderson, but Henderson has his pocket picked by Diaby. But Ajax win it back. Mansverk to Henderson. And that is Linson. That was Hatto who had gone forward, and it is back with Henderson. Passing it to Wrench, I believe, who sends that across the field, hoping to find Borna Sosa. Header into the penalty area, but that is confidently headed away. I believe Carlos was the one who did that. And Bailey now hoping to send Duran forward, and Sutalo winning that battle, but Duran winning the ball back off Sutalo. And when he had the opportunity to try and place it beyond the goalkeeper, he has a bit too much power on that and sends it wide. And he ends up having his shirt torn for his pains. Well, brilliant work there down the right wing. Sutalo looked to have won that battle, but losing the ball and Duran winning it back. And I think finesse is not really a big part of Duran's game there. Obviously hoping to try and bend that in, left-footed beyond Diant Ramaj. And I'll tell you what, well, Sutalo there clutching and ripping Duran's shirt. He's going to have a new one offered to him. And there is, of course, a claim by Sutalo that Duran had his hand around his neck and sort of wrestled him off with that. Certainly didn't look at all good, but, well, might have been something for VAR to look at, except I don't think VAR is being used in the Conference League. More talk of Luton Town as Duran has his shirt changed. Saturday's game is a must-win for Luton Town. Need to give it 110%. Every game is a final now. When you go 3-0 up, bit of a almost cheap shot there. Just had nothing left, depleted and knackered, running in fumes. Bournemouth had a fully fit squad. Second half, you huffed and puffed. And yeah, I think I'm not going to do that. I don't want to get into going to start any snide going on over here. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. This is silly. And look, as an Arsenal fan, I was on the receiving end of a similar Bournemouth comeback when we led then manager Eddie Howe's team 3-0, only to be clawed back to 3-3. I remember the 4-4 debacle between Newcastle and Alan Pardew's, Arsenal and Alan Pardew's Newcastle at St. James's Park not too long back. And, a possibility here with Moreno finding Duran. And is that going to be a penalty? Well, referee Grinfeld says no penalty. And Duran certainly proving his worth coming on. But Ajax once again survive. Terrific work down the left. That was Moreno who was overlapping. The ball was inch perfect. Ramaj wasn't getting anywhere near that. And I think if we see this again, I think got to the ball. And there was no real contact between the goalkeeper and the striker. So no penalty is the correct call. And in fact, I stand corrected. There is a VAR check, and they've checked it. No penalties to be awarded, and Ajax can breathe a sigh of relief. But I do wonder if these missed opportunities will come back to haunt Aston Villa later on. Mansberg hoping to get it forward, only finding Mcginn. And now Villa are rampant. Luiz to Bailey in the penalty area. And Bailey makes it 2-0. And with that, could the tie be over? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. You get the feeling that Aston Villa were taking this tie very seriously indeed, because there was no way they would have wanted to see their European adventure end. But Ajax haven't really offered much in the second half. Aston Villa have looked rampant. And they have been richly rewarded on the hour, just before clocking an hour, that is, with Leon Bailey doing some great work. I did mention that his right foot was his wrong foot, but the best players are able to use both their feet. Mansberg there with a dreadful giveaway. Luiz finding Bailey in the penalty area, going past Hato, pretty much poking it home past the goalkeeper. As I said, his right foot is his wrong foot, but Diant Ramaj has no chance with that. And it's a long way back for Ajax. Aston Villa are half an hour away from their first European club quarter-final since 1998. And that was, of course, back in the days when they were in the UEFA Cup, as it was called then. And clearly, Henderson is not happy. Well, at least he has the consolation of being named in the England squad himself alongside Watkins, who was off the field with a little injury. And if Villa hold on to win tonight, this will give them all the confidence they need for their trip to the London Stadium. And I need more of your perspectives on this question. Are you in favour of the away goals rule being scrapped as Aston Villa win a throw? More comments coming in, and I will take a look at them right now. Yep, great goal by Leon Bailey. There's no way that Villa will throw this away. Of course, they very nearly did throw it away against your lot. And I definitely believe that you did deserve something from that game. You would have deserved something, but I am sorry about that result. And could this be 3? Tielemans winning a corner off Hato. And the villains are turning into heroes. I had to do that. Once again, the Ajax defense at 6s and 7s. Tielemans on his own. And he ends up winning a corner off Hato. Now, a third goal will certainly settle this tie. which means that for Ajax, it will be a damage limitation and Villa can afford to bring on a few more people. The only question is, who could you possibly bring on without running the risk of being pegged back? For the moment, though, it is Douglas Luiz with this corner. Right-footed in-swinger, hoping to find a header. And I believe that was Duran with the header. As I said, when he came on, his mouth was alive with juices like wine. And he has been hungry like the wolf tonight. Header right on target, but straight at Ramaj. And I've got to say that for the work that he's done tonight, he definitely deserves a goal. If only Cameron Kirtley were here tonight, we definitely have a lot to talk about with this particular result. And back to any updates from elsewhere. And the potential shock in the making, the Azerbaijani team, Karabag, have taken a 1-0 lead at the Bay Arena. So the Bundesliga leaders are in danger of being knocked out of the Europa League at the round of 16 stage, while Bayern Munich are, of course, safely through to the Champions League quarterfinals. Elsewhere, Atalanta have taken a 2-1 lead over Sporting. They've come back from that deficit. And Duran once again finding space, but not able to get the shot on target. I don't think he really connected with that very well with his left foot. And you can see him working really hard, huffing and puffing, but not quite able to get what he wants or deserves. Confirmation that Liverpool are 6-1 up against Sparta Prague. Brighton 1-0 up against Roma. And, of course, earlier results. Rangers losing at home to Benfica and going out. West Ham thrashing Freiburg 5-0, going through 5-1 on aggregate. AC Milan going through against Slavia Prague 3-1, while Sparta Prague are being put to the sword. And Marseille very nearly being pegged back by Villarreal, but somehow finding a way to secure the tie in their favour. And I believe with stoppages now, this is time for Villa to recover. And is there a substitution being made for Villa? Well, this can only mean more time being added. And confirmation from the Conference League. Fenerbahce through 3-1 on aggregate, despite losing 1-0 at home tonight. Fiorentina going through against Maccabi Haifa 5-4. They drew, in fact, tonight 1-1, but went through courtesy of their 4-3 victory in the first leg. PAOK Salonika recovering from a 2-0 deficit from the first leg to go through 5-3 on aggregate, a 5-1 win over Dinamo Zagreb. And Victoria Plzen, I hope that's how you pronounce it, going through against Servette on penalties after both the first and second legs finished goalless. Club Brugge 2-0 up against Molde, 3-2 up on aggregate. Another potential comeback by this time by the Belgian team against the Norwegians. Still 1-1 in Lille between Lille and Sturm Graz. That is, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger's team. And Sturm Graz's stadium was, for a time, named after him. And 65 minutes, I can also tell you that Olympiacos are 4-1 up against Maccabi Tel Aviv. And that is the exact same score line with which the first leg finished. So both teams scoring 5 goals on aggregate, both teams scoring the same number of away goals, that's 4. And as things stand, we could be set for a very exciting, nerve-shattering end to the game in Tel Aviv. Robbie Keane's team being put through the ringer. And haven't really missed too much action there. Mansberg there tugging Duran's shirt and sending him falling to the floor and rightly receiving a booking. And it looks as though that is Mansberg's final action because he has received a second yellow card and he's been sent off. So, after losing one of their defenders last night, they've now lost one of their midfielders tonight. Down to 10 men, 20 odd minutes to go. Damage limitation is the name of the game. Mcginn now, once again, losing the ball, but very lucky that his teammates have been able to cover him. Akpom receiving that. It is back with Wrench, who's moved into more of a central defensive position, as it were. and Henderson is now almost on his own. This could very well be a 3-4-2 formation or a 4-2-3 formation, but a dreadful clearance from Ramaj, straight to Duran. Diaby, and Ramaj redeems himself with a save. And so we are close to 3/4 of the way done, and I think Ramaj was in fact hoping to find his fellow defender Wrench, but Wrench slipped, and that let Duran in. But Diaby unable to score from a tight angle. Borna Sosa, the Croatian. And I can tell what the chat is thinking. There is absolutely no way that Villa can muck this up from here. But in the Premiership, we've seen Villa muck it up, or nearly muck it up, on too many occasions to count. And just taking a look at the teams remaining in the Conference League draw, it is quite fair to say that the winner of this tie could very well go on to win the tournament in terms of quality. But the beauty of European club football is that things will never be as they seem. And we do have another Ajax substitution. I think it's a defensive one. Sutalo has in fact gone out. Josip Sutalo, of course, also Croatian. And Anton Gray has come on in his place, the number 3. And his first job will be to take the Ajax throw. Finding Henderson in the penalty area, but Tielemans is on his tail. And excellent work by Pau Torres, taking the venom off that and allowing Emi Martinez to come and collect that. And Jordan Henderson is now the best part of 20-odd minutes away from going out of European football at the round of 16 stage, while his former teammates at Liverpool are marching on to the Europa League quarterfinals. After dilly-dallying, Martinez eventually passes it to Pau Torres, who certainly looks very comfortable on the ball, especially with the ball at his feet. But without Tyrone Mings, I think Villa's defense still looks very weak, and they are going to have to really buck up their ideas. It's just as well that Clement Lenglet is not playing tonight. And Villa can go forward through Alex Moreno, receiving that pass from Douglas Luiz. Passes it back to Douglas Luiz. To Torres. Carlos. To Cash. Now going from left to right for Aston Villa. Back to the centre to Mcginn. And Tielemans backs Cash up. Receives that. Hoping to send Cash on his way down the wing, but Cash isn't quite able to go through as of yet. And Tielemans passes it back to Diego Carlos as we clock 70 minutes at Villa Park. Aston Villa, 20 minutes away from the quarterfinals of the Europa Conference League. And Mansberg had in fact been booked in the first half for conceding a needless free kick with a foul on Diaby. And a needless foul there by the substitute Anton Gray on John McGinn. And that will be a Villa free kick. Now, of course, Villa will certainly want to score a third goal to try and avoid any kind of nerves. And of course, McGinn did in fact help get his team's Conference League campaign underway with that breathlessly late winning goal in the group stage against Zrinski Mostar, a name which I can barely spell, let alone pronounce. And that's not being disrespectful. Given that my own official name is especially long, I have to be very sensitive about names, and I want to make sure I do get it right. I hope I have. Yep. Unlucky Luton, it has to be said. And sadly, as we all know, the Premier League is an unsympathetic league. Hard luck stories won't really cut it. All I can say is good luck against Forest. You will need it. Beat Forest and you will be out of the relegation zone. Cash. Carlos. Torres. The Spanish tango to Matthew Cash, if you will. Tango and Cash. Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone. Mr. B will remember that, I'm sure. The unlikely buddy cop pairing, of course. And Diego Carlos is, in fact, on the floor right now. Just, I think he might be suffering from a case of cramp. And Martinez actually calls for the stretcher, which means it looks as though Carlos's night will be over. And the former Spurs and Barcelona defender Clement Lenglet will be coming on. Call it the commentator's curse, if you will. I was never a fan of Lenglet, never, still not, and never will be. But I think Carlos is unable to continue, and he will be, in fact, brought off and rested. And I'm sure he will receive an ovation from the Villa Park faithful for his role in preventing Ajax from having too many chances. Yep, simple mathematics. A 3-goal margin. And Spencer does remember Tango and Cash. Spanish Tango, Polish Cash. Cash, of course, is a Polish international, despite being born and brought up in England, qualifying to play for the Bialo-Czerwoni through his beloved mother. I don't know if he speaks fluent Polish. I think he might be more comfortable in English, but certainly has had no problems being a firm favourite among his teammates. And Leon Bailey, who could potentially be the game winner tonight, is also going off. And his replacement, we're going to find out who it is. But some great footwork there, a step over, and side-footing that past Diant Ramaj in goal. As I said, his right foot is his wrong foot, but he gave the keeper no chance. And it is, in fact, Tim Irogbunam who will be coming on. Irogbunam. And his first job will be to try to, well, he does, in fact, help contribute to a possible attack with Moussa Diaby on his own. But Wrench. And, ooh, is that in? A huge shot there from John Duran, and I think that is in. And that is the third goal. Well, a magnificent strike from the Colombian who finally has his reward. His mouth was alive with juices like wine. He was hungry like the wolf. And tonight, he and Villa can feast. Whoopsie daisies, 3-0. And that should be tie over. And Wrench, with that unfortunate slip, is now injured, of course. But we will take a look back. It was actually Irogbunam, of course, whose first touch as a substitute was to try to sort of hook that ball forward. And eventually it was the midfield who ended up making it happen. And with the benefit of goal line technology on his watch, it was Oriel Grinfeld's decision to award the goal. Magnificent strike from Duran, which went off the underside of the bar. And there it was, a brilliant header as well, which set Moussa Diaby on his way. There is a check, though. I think Duran might have been just onside. Wrench nearly had that covered, but he, of course, slipped. And then Duran had it. Took a huge left-footed shot. Brilliant strike, and the goal was awarded. The only bit of controversy I might see here is to wonder whether or not either Duran or Diaby may have been offside. But he hit that sweetly. Underside of the bar. And, of course, goal line technology confirmed that did, in fact, completely cross the line. Wasn't quite able to hit the underside of the net, which would have confirmed it, but the super sub proving to be super. So, Villa's first 2 goal scorers being substituted, and one of the substitutes scoring what is the game winner. 3-0 Aston Villa. 3-0 on aggregate. Quarterfinals, here we come. And Aston Villa's European dream continues. And sadly for poor Devin Wrench, I think that's his night over. He clutched his hamstring as he went down. Not too sure he will be able to continue. And so, with the best part of 15 minutes to go, including stoppages, 15 odd or so, it will be damage limitation for the Dutch. Goal line technology confirming that that ball did in fact cross the line in its entirety. Thunderbolt of a strike from John Duran. The Wolf has feasted. And is that a potential sign of greater things to come for the remainder of this season under Unai Emery? For the moment, Villa still have to negotiate the rest of this tie, and Ajax could still somehow find a way back into this. And on Hirugbanam, I think Chelsea owners could potentially want him now because they love getting young kids in. There is some truth to that. There is some truth to that. Certainly, they might enjoy getting young kids in, playing them in the reserves, maybe giving them a first-team appearance. But certainly, we're not one to talk because our youngsters don't seem to get too many opportunities. And Moreno, once again, has he taken it too far? I believe he has. And that will be a goal kick to Ajax. So I'm going to once again go through... Yeah, I think there was actually a check for offside, but no offside there. And Devin Wrench has, in fact, gone off. His night is over. And he has been replaced by the number 33. Benjamin Tahirovic. So definitely... brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And that strike was a killer, and he had a really good view of that. Mr. B, legend. And so what do Ajax do? Henderson passing it to Hato, to Sosa. Tahirovic with one of his first touches. Back pass to Henderson, who is now pretty much settled into the defence. I don't think we'll see much of Ajax going forward, although Brobby is still on the pitch, and fair to say that Emi Martinez will seldom have a more comfortable clean sheet. Of course, he did very nearly concede, but Cash policing that goal very well. And of course, a classic line from that film is when Kurt Russell says, "Bad cup?" Stallone replies, "Worst cup." But no doubt that Tango Torres and Matty Cash have been on the job tonight. Martinez sending it forward. Sosa heading it back. And Hirugbanam passing that to Cash. Hoping to once again send it forward. Aston Villa might want a fourth if they can. Tielemans finding Diaby, who's now gone back onto the right. And Aston Villa are so flexible in their formation tonight that many of their players can now pretty much go all over the park. Hirugbanam. Longley. And Brobby's on his tail, but Longley, no fuss, passes it back to Martinez. Torres. Moreno. Luiz. And we've already clocked 80 minutes at Villa Park. It's 80 minutes and 30-odd seconds now. And Aston Villa are 10 minutes and stoppage time away from a spot in the Conference League quarterfinals. And as I repeat, it's their first. And another poor defensive mistake, this time from Sosa. Diaby in the penalty area. Good night, Ajax. 4-0 to Aston Villa. And that, my dear friends, is how you recover from losing 4-0 at home. Whoopsie daisies. You win 4-0 at home. And the story of the night is that Ajax's defensive frailties and errors have been ruthlessly punished. Another glorious European night for the villains, really out of nothing. Sosa intercepting that ball, but probably slipped. Should have had that covered, the Croatian international. And Ramaj, of course, giving Diaby a little bit of space in the top corners for which to aim. Diaby says, "Thank you very much indeed." The champagne is on ice. And on this form, you would not bet against Aston Villa going very far in this tournament. I certainly would not want to bet against them winning it. And with that, Douglas Luiz's work is done, and certainly a youth player comes on. We're going to find out who that is. And it's in fact the number 71, Omari Kellyman, who comes on for a little taste of European action. What a time to come on. Your team's 4-0 up. Qualification for the quarterfinals sealed. Time to enjoy yourself, son. There is no way that Ajax are coming back from this, and there is no way that Villa will muck this up. Of course, technically they could they could possibly concede maybe 1 or 2, but there's no way that Emi Martinez would want to have his night spoiled by not keeping his clean sheet. He definitely wants to go far with Aston Villa. And Kellyman's first touch is not impressive, but gets redeemed because Ajax are just that much worse on the ball. Their footing has been completely off this second half. Mcginn in the penalty area. And it's eventually hacked away, but only as far as Moreno. And the offside flag is up anyway, so even if Villa would have scored, it would not have counted. I think Cash strayed a little bit off there and couldn't get back in time. Two goals in 8 matches for the Frenchman, Moussa Diaby. Smooth as Moose with the ball, but with a deadly strike. And I'm not too sure Emi Martinez needs to indulge in any kind of time wasting here, but he'll want to see this through, and he promptly rolls it out to Longley. Cash. Irugbanam. Kellyman. Cash. Diaby. And Duran finds Kellyman, who can run with it. Kellyman now has a chance. Well, you can see why Kellyman hasn't been going too many games. That pass intended for, I believe it might have been Moreno, certainly not the best. And Ajax can try and hope to get a consolation as we come up to 5 minutes left. It is Henderson on the ball. Anton Gray. Henderson. Hato. Sosa, who's let Diaby in for that 4th goal. Kenneth Taylor. Decent game tonight, but not had the reward that he wanted or deserved. Tahirovic up against Kellyman, and Tahirovic shrugs off his fellow substitute, albeit from the opposite team. Hato. Tahirovic, who passes it back to Ramaj, who passes it forward to Hato, and Hato sends it forward, hoping to find Clinton for a possible consolation, but the defense saying none of that. Irugbanam to Tielemans now. Tielemans to John Duran, scorer of that 3rd goal. Moreno going forward, and certainly at his best, Moreno is excellent going forward, but defensively might not necessarily be the best. And there has been talk, of course, of Aston Villa potentially signing Kieran Tierney from Arsenal by way of Real Sociedad. I'm sure Tierney would love the chance to reunite with his former manager, who will almost certainly treat him a lot better. And Kellyman hoping to find Alex Moreno with the pass, but Moreno had gone a bit too far forward. And so I will now, for potentially the final time, or maybe not, give you some more updates. Back to the Europa League. And I think it is fair to say that with Brighton's failure to add to Danny Welbeck's goal, they look to be going out, and several fans of the Seagulls are heading home. It is still Brighton 1, Roma 0, but 4-1 down on aggregate. I don't think they will recover this deficit, but if they can hold on at least for this win, it will be a fine moment. And of course, Roberto De Zerbi and Daniel De Rossi go a long way back. De Zerbi, in fact, was one of De Rossi's lecturers while De Rossi was attaining his coaching badges. It's full time at Anfield already. Liverpool running out 6-1 winners over Sparta Prague, going through 11-2 on aggregate. Relentless. Still playing against, and Karabag have actually doubled their lead. It's, in fact, Leverkusen did pull one back, but as it stands, the Bundesliga leaders are heading out of the Europa League at the round of 16 stage. We are into stoppage time, and a possible. We very nearly missed a possible goal over here from Ajax, a consolation. Grubby running through with Longley on his side, but Emi Martinez smothering that magnificently. And you can see that the Argentinian was in no mood to let that clean sheet get away. Especially with about 2 minutes to go. You never know that a late goal won't spark a comeback. Mcginn into the penalty area. And it somehow finds its way to Diaby, but Sosa is able to somehow clear that away. But it finds Irogbenan. Kellyman. Diaby. Kellyman. Back with Cash. Longley. Torres sending it forward to Mcginn, who is cynically fouled by Anton Gray, and that will be an Aston Villa free kick. And yeah, we are deep into stoppage time, and Bayer Leverkusen have in fact pulled a goal back against Karabag. So as things stands, this tie could be heading into extra time. The German Bundesliga leaders being saved what could potentially have been an embarrassing exit at the hands of the Azerbaijanis. Atlanta looked to be going through against Sporting Club de Portugal, turning it around quite well after going 1-0 behind. And still a few minutes to play at the Amex Stadium, but Brighton are as good as out. And confirmation, of course, that Rangers are out, but West Ham are through, as are AC Milan and Marseille. And another possible attack here, but Torres opting to send that behind for a corner. And we will see if Ajax are able to get a consolation goal as we are in the last minute of normal time, and you would think that there will be plenty of stoppage time added. Elsewhere, Club Brugge have taken the 3-0 lead against Molde on the night, and they are now ahead 4-2 on aggregate. Lille and Sturm Graz are still 1-1 on the night. Lille going through as it stands 4-1 on aggregate. And still tied at 5-5, incredibly, in Tel Aviv between Maccabi and Olympiacos. Henderson with the corner, right-footed away swinger. Finds Kenneth Taylor outside the penalty area. Borna Sosa setting into the penalty area. And still can't clear their lines. Anton Guy with a shot, but it's blocked. Another shot, but Irogbenan blocks it. And I do believe there was an infringement in the Villa penalty area. And is that it? Well, the referee almost inexplicably opts to end the game with no time added on. But this is the result at full time. Aston Villa 4, Ajax 0. Ollie Watkins on 25 minutes. Leon Bailey just before the hour. John Duran on 75 minutes. And Moussa Diaby wrapping it up quite beautifully with a ribbon. On to the quarterfinals of the Conference League go Aston Villa, their first European club quarterfinal since 1998. And they still dare to dream. And you've got to say for Ajax, that it was probably a step too far. Emi Martinez with a big smile on his face, an important save there from Brian Brobby near the end to deprive the Dutch of what would effectively have been a consolation goal. And all I can say is that is how you recover from losing 4-0 at Villa Park on the weekend. You win 4-0 at Villa Park in midweek. Of course, Ajax are nowhere near the level of Tottenham Hotspur, but, you know, let's not split hairs at the moment. Villa through to the quarterfinals, looking in imperious form. Certainly, in my opinion, the best of the remaining Europa Conference League teams, and nobody would ever bet against them repeating what West Ham did and going all the way to win. And quite a few. Yeah, listen, I think I'm seeing a few rather snide, cheeky comments here. I am not going to air all of them. This guy saying that Toni Kroos should be a replacement as a Liverpool manager. Not going to happen. Kroos is still playing well with Real Madrid and has been recalled to the Germany squad. It will be a long time before that happens. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with the rest of that nonsense. Well, Hanno picked a good game to watch tonight. Probably should have watched the Atletico Madrid Inter Milan Classic, although I suppose seeing that game go to extra time and penalties would not have been good for my health. And in fact, Liverpool very nearly had a seventh tonight, but Gakpo was offside. Confirmation, it is. And what a huge shock over here. The Bundesliga leaders, Bayer Leverkusen, somehow pulling the chestnuts out of the fire with a 97th minute winner. And I will confirm that on the BBC Sport page. Well, it hasn't yet been confirmed, but I am going to try and see if I can't go to that channel right now. And yep, confirmed. A 97th minute winner has seen Leverkusen take the lead against Karabag. They are now ahead 5-4 on aggregate. 6 minutes of time were added on, but they've now played 9 minutes. And the danger is not yet over by Leverkusen, who have had to clear a throw-in. But will the referee blow his whistle now? No, not just yet. And Leverkusen will know that they have been put through the ringer tonight. But is the danger over? Well, that's been headed wide. And you must think with that, that should be the end of it. Well, it's not quite the end of it, because I do believe that the referee is, in fact, talking to the players, and I believe that dispute has been resolved. And so any minute now for Leverkusen, their fans can celebrate, but they will know that they have been put through the ringer tonight. 2-2 in the first leg back in Azerbaijan. Karabag were 2-0 up tonight. Leverkusen pegged it back to 2-2. And with an absolute choker for the Azerbaijanis, Bayer Leverkusen have won it. And commiserations there for the Azerbaijanis, but Xabi Alonso showing great appreciation for his opponents, who certainly gave his team a huge fight tonight. And we will find out the confirmation. It was Patrick Schick once again with those two breathlessly late goals in the 3rd and 7th minutes of stoppage time, after Frimpong had brought them back in it, following Karabag taking a 2-0 lead. And the Azerbaijanis will be looking to, well, certainly be looking back and wondering what might have been. Duran's favorite holiday place is Rio. Dancing on the sand, one would think. And confirmation, Brighton winning against Roma 1-0, but not enough to overturn their huge deficit for the from the first leg. And so Brighton are out. Their European adventure is over. And it has, of course, finished in all games. So I can tell you right now, from the Europa League, Benfica, West Ham, Roma, Liverpool, AC Milan, Marseille, Atlanta, and Leverkusen are through to the quarterfinals. And so we will wait to see when the draw takes place and find out which teams will be playing which. As far as the Conference League is concerned, um, I can tell you right now that it still hasn't finished between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Olympiacos. In fact, it could very well be that that tie will go to extra time. But since that particular match is not being screened on my television screen, I am not going to bother with updates from that. And what a turnaround. For all our money, it looked as though Olympiacos would be going out with their tail between their legs, but they've come and surprised everyone. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Greeks, with the bit between their teeth, go on to shock the Israelis of Tel Aviv and send them out. We had an Israeli referee tonight, and he saw Aston Villa punish Ajax spectacularly to the tune of 4-0, being 1-0 up at half-time. And, of course, they, win the tie 4-0 on aggregate. And other teams to go through, Fenerbahce, 3-1 on aggregate, despite losing 1-0 tonight. Fiorentina going through 5-4 on aggregate, despite drawing 1-1 tonight against Maccabi Haifa. Fenerbahce, of course, losing to Union Saint-Gilloise. PAOK Salonika beating Dinamo Zagreb 5-1 on the night to go 5-3 on aggregate, overturning their 2-0 deficit from the first leg. Victoria Plzen going through against Servette. 3-1 penalties after both legs finished goalless. Club Brugge overcoming their 2-1 deficit against Molde to go through 4-2 on aggregate with a 3-0 win tonight. And Lille sending Arnold Schwarzenegger's boys from Sturm Graz home. 1-1 on the night, but 4-1 on aggregate. Sturm Graz will not be back. But Olympiacos and Maccabi Tel Aviv are heading to extra time. But the big headline, and I will pretty much, look at that. I will prepare that right now. Chelsea fans saying cannot wait for the Champions League draw tomorrow. I really do hope we won't get Bayern again, but something tells me that this might not exactly be the 10-2 shellacking from days gone by. Although with Harry Kane in their team, you can never take Bayern for granted, as they proved against Mainz. And this will certainly be a mouthful. Aston Villa beating AFC Ajax. Whoopsie daisies. Much better. Aston Villa beating AFC Ajax 4-0 on the night, 4-0 on aggregate, and they qualify for the Europa Conference League quarterfinals. And you have to say that they will be favourites to go on and win the whole thing. And big up to you, Chelsea fan. Thanks for joining in from the beginning and to the end. Sturm Graz got to the chopper. Arnie's team had a Predator up front. Well, apparently they didn't. The Predator didn't really do too much help for them. Weren't able to go through. But this is the way it stands. This is the way it ends. It's been another pulsating night of European football. And technically, of course, it is still not over. We are into extra time in Tel Aviv between Maccabi and Olympiacos, but I will not be covering that. And once again, I can say that this is really, an example of how good Aston Villa can be in Europe and just how great a manager Unai Emery is when it comes to European club football, European club tournament football. And hopefully this will give Aston Villa all the confidence they need as they go to face West Ham this weekend. They will need it. And their Champions League dream, of course, is still not over. But they will certainly need to improve their squad as they go further. And certainly at the end of the season, they will need to make some additions. But for now, Villa can relax. They can rest easy. I can relax and rest easy. No extra time or penalties for me tonight. And all I can say is thank you to everyone who's joined in. Chelsea fan, Spencer Stewart, Mr. B, Hive of Football, and also Stepsy, Aaron Guy, and others who have joined in. You know who you are. You're the ones who have made this stream and this channel what they are. Congratulations to you, Spencer. Take care of yourself. And big up to you as always, Mr. B. And once again to everyone who's joined in, thank you very much for keeping me company tonight. Until then, I hope you enjoy this upcoming weekend. Enjoy the football on offer from the Premiership and or the FA Cup, whichever you prefer. But until then, you know the drill. Stay safe, stay happy, be blessed. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do. But for now, as always, from yours truly, it is goodbye to thee, farewell and God bless, and good night to all of you. Cheers.